You want me to describe?
Well, I don't know whether you ought to, but I just wondered. When I got a strange woman in my right ear, it's always
That's
it's
right.
mysterious.
Okay, we have to begin here. Let me ask you first. Many of the hot acts of the 70s have disappeared. Not all of them, but many of them. And you just keep going. Why is that? Why do you keep going?
Because I can't get one of the jobs that those guys have got. There's not that many vacancies, you know, in the other jobs. While I keep going because I've got an insatiable thirst and hunger for writing songs. You know? I mean, I became a songwriter so many years ago, and that's what I like to do, and that's what I will always do. And I think if you run out of steam and you run out of inspiration, and maybe if you miss the kind of whole pulse of life, or if that pulse of life changes and and you move into other things, then you can't be expected to play this game. Now, I don't know, time's going by for me, but I'm still having a really great time, and although I'm not an adolescent, I have an awareness which I'm quite proud of, and I write according to what I feel. I get into scrapes and situations that a guy of my time shouldn't have or be in, and it's wonderful, it's great, you know?
Great.
It's timeless, really.
Are you surprised that your success has been so big as a solo act?
Yeah, I think I am. I mean, I know how much work I put in, but it isn't just work that gets you the results. It's like, you know, it's a combination of a lot of different forces. And I have probably the greatest band that's touring anywhere right now. It's really a wild group. Everybody plays great. And it's so much fun, you know? And it comes across when we perform on stage as a very warm experience, if you like. I mean, we opened up the tour last night in Albany. It's a great place to open anything, especially a bank account. And I wouldn't mind living here forever around here. It's great. And I don't know, it's just like the reaction with the audience is something that is improving, you know? And I don't know whether or not, I mean, a lot of musicians tend to play, I play to please myself. A lot of musicians play to please themselves. Primarily, that's what you have to do. But at the same time, you have to communicate what you do. And you have to do it without developing a remoteness, you know? You have to involve the people who come along to concerts. And as a live act, we do very well because it's quite it's a warm event, you know? It's quite intimate.
Is a tour also an athletic event? Do you have to really get prepared for that?
You have to hope and keep your fingers crossed it's going to be athletic, yeah.
Do you play the old songs also on tour?
Sure, yeah. Some. I mean, there are some that I won't touch, you know, but there are songs that I won't go near, really, because I shouldn't. I should leave them alone.
Sure.
But I like to pull little songs out that maybe people haven't heard, or even, you know, some Zepp stuff that's got lost at the very end of the line, and I mean, I use whatever I want to use, but I use the ones that are particularly significant to me.
Yeah.
Rather than just going for the obvious ones, you know.
Right. Your voice is better than ever. How do you keep that up? Do you have to work at it?
I keep my mouth shut on afternoons like this, generally. You know, I just don't. I try and keep my mouth closed quite a lot, which is very hard because I love to waffle. but I just try and, especially like at the beginning of a tour, and especially with the humidity and the heat, it really does get you. You know, so it's a case of if you don't get exhausted, then you can do it. Just take it easy, and then after the show, go nuts.
Let me go back. You know, when Led Zeppelin first formed, it seemed that your music was so different for that time, the beginning of the 70s, end of the 60s. At that time, was that risky, what you were doing? Were you afraid of it, or did it just feel good?
Well, I didn't ever have any idea, and I know that nobody else in Zeppelin had any idea of commerciality and what it meant. How to be a success, you know? How the hell do anybody know what it takes, really? And so what we had to do is we had to please ourselves primarily, and that's what I've done ever since. It wasn't risky. It was certainly didn't sound like Tommy James and the Shondells. You know, it wasn't pop. And maybe that's the reason that it was embraced by America, was because it was good and well executed and a little bit sort of different. And well, I'm still good, and this, what I do, is still quite a bit different. And it's the same thing. I'm not frightened of avoiding or of losing commercial success.
Yeah. Because
I think some people actually exist because they're not a commercial success completely. Yeah. I think when I go to watch an act, I go because I really want to see what these people do, and I don't want to go just because I got 6 of their records and commercially it's the easiest thing to latch onto, you know. So I think Zepp was that kind of act, you know. It was like wow, it's such intense music. And what I do is still pretty intense. It's just got a little bit of a smile with it as well.
Let me talk about the impact of Led Zeppelin all the way around. Do you think that the rock acts of today definitely pattern themselves after Led Zeppelin and other bands in the 70s that were like that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing original under the sun, you know. So maybe people borrow from here, there, and everywhere. I borrow all the time. So I'm not really concerned about it. And I mean, the comments, there's so many people sounding like so many other people sounding like so many people. But it doesn't really matter, you know.
Who do you like to listen to?
Me, I like Prince a lot, you know. I like to listen to a lot of blues and rock and roll, rockabilly. I like a group from Seattle called Soundgarden. And yeah, I like Faith No More. And I don't know, you know. I like Alana Miles' voice. I think she's got a great voice, and she's touring with us too.
Oh yes, that's right.
Sure, yeah, she sings beautifully.
What about when you were really young? Was there someone you listened to before your success?
Oh, sure, yeah, but it was mostly Chicago blues. It was Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. And I think a lot of rock and roll artists who didn't come across White, Clean and Neat, you know, the guys who really were rocking, and they were obviously having to be, people were trying to control their power and their youth and their enthusiasm and their recklessness, you know, like Presley, you know. I mean, what happened to Elvis in 5 years was ridiculous, from being a truck driver in 55 to, you know, coming out of the army in 1960. I mean, he'd undergone a complete character change, you know, personality change and everything. But underneath it all, there was still the wild heart. And I was lucky enough to meet him and spend some time with him.
Great.
And he was really like, I'm so glad that when I did meet him eventually that I wasn't let down, you know. Because, I mean, you could meet people backstage, people go, hi, how you doing? Okay, how great. You can't exude this kind of wild whatever it is that people have been dreaming of, but Presley had it. And when I was a kid, I didn't want the kind of pop crap, you know, or whatever it was. I wanted that other thing. And even though Presley became a pop puppet, he really still carried the flag, no matter what anybody says. Because when I met him, he'd still got the flag.
Yeah.
It's just that he was wearing, you know, clothes to suit.
Well, thank you. We've run out of time.
Okay,
lots
Renee.
of luck to you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm going to have a great time. Smiles all the way.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.